All right, and welcome back. I didn't know we would have an opportunity to have this gentleman back on with us, or not. I had hoped so. If you look in the YouTube video channel, you'll find Mr. Nano. It's a 1-hour YouTube video. It's 48 minutes, and I want you to listen to that. He is back with us tonight, and it is extremely rare, if not virtually impossible, to get anyone who has inside knowledge of nanotechnology and what's going on today to talk about it. And I honestly heard things with our guest, Mr. Nano, during his first visit here that I didn't expect to hear spoken out loud on a public forum. And I urge you to listen to that YouTube video and tonight's program as well. Welcome back, Mr. Nano. Thanks for being here again.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
You bet. You bet. You sound laid back as always.
Well, for the most part, I just getting over a cold and some travel, so then come back to a bunch of crazy kids and a little exhausted, but things are going pretty well. Thank you.
Well, the next time, yes, you're welcome. The next time you travel, take some Allison C before and during the trip, so you will not be exposed on the airliner in that closed tube of virus and bacteria they call an airliner cabin. That's where you get terrible. A lot of diseases. Oh, my. It's awful.
Absolutely. So how have you been?
Like you, busy, but very, very grateful that you came back to spend another hour with us. I didn't think that was going to happen, to tell you the truth. And for those of you who are listening,
Absolutely. And I'm happy to be here, too. And I'm kind of surprised, too, you don't have more nano people popping up. After our first talk, I really started diving into some of this stuff, just researching, because I haven't really spent much time on the ufology and all the stuff going on in general. So I've really spent some time looking at that. It just blows my mind. I have a million questions, and I can't believe I see things just from 20 years of working in nanotechnology come out over periods of time. And when I hear things and different stories from abductees or even just the whole UFO community, it just blows my mind that there's so much going on. It's so multi-layered. It's really unbelievable. And it's just getting started. It's going to be crazy soon. I mean, like, it's not now, but I mean, it's really amazing.
Oh, well, what Mr. Nano is alluding to is disclosure. Disclosure has already happened. Yeah. The Pentagon, the Navy, has flat out admitted that UFOs are real, that they encounter them all the time, that they are very interested in them, and they're studying them, and that's all we got. But in other words, the cover-up essentially is officially over. That didn't make much news. People yawned, those who noticed it, as I really suspected that they would. No one was flipped out about it. But here it is, an official disclosure has been made that UFOs, and obviously by extension ETs, are real. They're here. The Navy sees them all the time. I'm sure the other branches of the military do too. So, and yet nobody seemed to notice that disclosure has been made.
Yeah, I assume that's for a reason, and they're doing it their own way, and very complicated, I can imagine.
I think that they have as you just said, a complex agenda of revelatory steps, stages. They're going to drop things here and drop things there. I had a very unusual hour on the program. Was it 2 nights ago? No. 3 nights ago. A gentleman from Montana who, along with his son, had a stunning encounter with an unidentified object flying that was out on his cattle ranch in pitch darkness amongst his cows. It's a great story. You were probably on your trip. I will send you the link. I put that up on a YouTube video format. I'll send you the link. You're going to want to hear this. It was that amazing.
Wow, look forward to it.
Yeah.
I can't get enough stories now. It's really swallowed me up, this whole thing. It's amazing. And
now,
having a couple of young kids too, and a lot of my family, extended family and friends, it quite hasn't hit them yet either. Sure, they hear, that no one wants to really ask the question, who's behind the UFOs. People say, oh, there's lights in the sky, or sure, the Navy or the Pentagon said this or that, and they're looking into it, but where are they? Why aren't they here? What's going on? And that's where they leave it, and they don't want to think a little deeper into that question.
I don't know why that is, but that's a very important point. People will look at something really of enormous import and do so superficially and then just turn and walk away from it. They don't explore it, they don't push, they don't question. I guess that's not only a sign of the times, but I think a sign of technology that has been arrayed against people in terms of removing them from a proactive stance. They're reactive. They go through life reacting. They're not aggressive in their questioning, like normal inquisitive humanity used to be. At least that's the way I see it. It's not there anymore.
Absolutely. It's not there anymore, and it gets me wondering what other possible government programs or, just populist control, different methods, keeping people just looking at their toes and going to work and watching a ball game and drinking a beer. It's kind of
well, most of them don't get to their toes because there's a screen in the way.
That too, fair enough.
Man, one of the biggest addictions ever.
Absolutely, and that's my biggest challenge right now is just getting people to listen. Even to the point where I could say, even told them I could prove to you without a doubt that this stuff is happening. And they still don't want to say they really care at some point. Just don't want to hear it.
And these are intelligent people that you know, right?
Very intelligent people. They just don't want to hear it. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to get involved. They don't want to pop their bubble. They're doing well. Their lives are nice. They're making good money. They don't want to upset the apple cart, you could say. And I guess that's fair, but I see it as a crime against humanity. And all this information needs to get out, and this technology needs to get out. And we need to move to the next phase, if that's this consciousness shift or enlightenment or whatever you want to call it. It's going to happen eventually, and it's happening now, and I think it's happening at a much faster rate than it was years ago.
I agree.
And just hold tight, I think, is my advice to my friends and family. Just hold tight. I'll tell you, in 5-10 years, a lot of things are changing.
This is the biggest question, right? Always used to be. Are we alone? Well, hell no, we're not alone. And they're here.
Where'd we come
and this
from?
planet is 4.5 billion years old. Let's give it a half a billion years to settle down. And this planet has been the host of maybe hundreds or thousands of prior civilizations or hominid species, intelligent life forms, or other life forms. We've been visited forever. They probably have bases all over this planet, underground, underwater. No one talks about it. People go through life utterly oblivious to what the hell's around them. And that's why I do this program. It's so staggering to me that people can be that uninterested in what I call a birthright to the knowledge that is being withheld from us. We're being lied to constantly. And this whole thing that we're the only life form in the universe is one of the most outrageously vulgar, distasteful, disgusting statements I've ever heard otherwise, allegedly, intelligent people make. It's so damn dumb, it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Absolutely. And again, you could show them, here's the facts, here's the truth, 1 + 1 is 2, last time I checked.
Yeah.
And here we are. But I guess it's part of the process, and that's where I kind of told myself, because do get worked up in it, and it's something that you attack every day, and you hear a lot more stories and firsthand than I do. I see more I'm on the science end of it, and when I see like metamaterials coming out, and when I look in, I was looking at stuff years ago, and now here it's popping out at certain places. I mean, in the UFO community, they're talking with this Tom DeLonge and Adam Project, and this bismuth, this combination of materials. I think it's a magnesium.
Let's before we get too far down the road, metamaterials. Let's define that and let our listeners know what we're talking about, what you're bringing up. These are extraordinary things.
So at the base level, like a metamaterial is just an artificial material that has certain properties that don't exist naturally, and like these properties are due to more of a structure and not the actual material composition. So at the base, what typically the concept, it's kind of been changing, but basically if you have a very tiny antenna, you're talking 100 nanometers by 10 nanometers, or very small antenna, similar to like a TV antenna back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Basically bringing antenna down to the nanoscale. You can manipulate light in a variety of different ways, different wavelengths from like 500, 4 to 700, I think it is, nanometers, or infrared light. And you can manipulate light in entirely new ways. So there's so many applications for them. Huge list. It just gets bigger and bigger, from optical filters, medical devices, aerospace applications. Turning something invisible is like the coolest part of it, I guess. I mean, we were bending light around things.
We're doing that right now. We're actually creating invisibility by bending light around things. Mm-hmm.
Right. I think for the UFO side, though, I've heard. So when you're able to atomically layer a variety of metals, alloys, polymers, biological samples, atomically layer them like a sandwich, they behave completely different. All sorts of different, really cool things. Even shrinking like a conventional glass lens down to like 100 nanometers, so super thin. It just brings on a variety of different applications. You can shrink everything down to the atomic level. And you have also the beauty of conductivity, flexibility, like nanotubes, like a piece of spaghetti, but yet it's 100 times stronger than steel or harder than a diamond, and all these amazing features. And everybody wants them, and what you do with them, making these like smarter, soft robotic systems or nanobio machines. I mean, the door is just wide open. There's a million things going on with them.
It's overwhelming. This is really the doorstep of the golden age of well, it's a scientific paradise. It's physics paradise. It's unlimited. We are at the doorstep now of unlimited potential. We can do almost anything. You can see that, correct?
Absolutely. And I hear it and see it, and it's frequently talked about. And I think it's been nice with having this Pentagon disclosure, because colleagues are talking more about it and what kind of material is this. I even believe there's a patent issued. I'd have to check on that again, but I don't know if you've heard about this. Some patent being issued to the Navy for that.
Yeah.
TR-3B style, like triangular.
Correct. That was a couple months ago, I think.
Warp drive or whatever it is. Yeah. So I've heard of people saying, you scatter electromagnetic waves through this bismuth material, or you can um, basically make an anti-gravity shield underneath the craft, or do it a million different ways, make suits out of it or shoes or whatever. But yeah, when you can distort time and space and do it a way where you choose, it gives you unlimited flexibility, then everything opens up. Wormholes, warp drives. I assume time travel is in there. Of course, invisibility. And I can share one instance that happened. It was about 5 years ago. I was at a lab up in Palo Alto, and we were looking at some really cool, it was just a material that looked like a piece of glass. You could see right through it, and it was really hard to see the features we wanted to look at through electron microscopes and atomic force microscopes. And we got to the location, and I was talking with the scientist who made it, fabricated it, wet etching and dry etching and different methods of production lithographies. He basically said, yes, this is a holographic technology. Have you ever heard of the CARET program? And I said, no, CARET's like
C-A-R-E-T.
Yeah, I thought it was like C-A-R-R-O-T, like a carrot, so I didn't take much of it. You just kind of threw it out there, and I see a reaction from me, and I just blew it off. I didn't know what it was, and we just kept working. He didn't tell me much about at that point. He didn't say anything.
And we're not talking about C-A-R-A-T, carrots, as in diamonds, either.
Yeah,
it's
right.
C-A-R-E-T.
C-A-R-E-T. So he basically planted a little seed or a carrot in front of me, you could say. And I did a little I talked to another colleague there, and he said, yeah, check it out, C-A-R-E-T. I said, oh, okay. So I Googled it when I got home, and here we go, this commercial, I think it stands for Commercial Application and Research of Extraterrestrial Technology. And then I said, what the heck is that? So next time I visited, I talked a little bit further. I said, yeah, so I did some research. What's this dragonfly drone? I heard it was a hoax, and what is this technology? This is amazing. And he said, no, that program has been retired for a while, but there's a new program. I didn't get any details on that. But it's similar. It's like the parent program or something, offshoot of it. But it's this holographic technology, which holograph, I guess you could look at it bunch of different ways. But it's basically like a self-actuating software, almost like a computer that's pre-programmed. And if you send it a signal or you physically touch it or I guess I assume consciousness now, it'll do something. And so I learned more about this dragonfly drone, and I noticed that some of the markings on the dragonfly drone were also the same kind of markings on this material we were looking at. So
all right, let me ask you to hold it right there. You talked to the gentleman who created this material, yes?
Not the dragonfly drone, no. He informed me about the CARET program, but yeah, I was with a scientist in a lab up in Palo Alto, and we were looking at a sample, and I was questioning it basically, and he let me know about this CARET program and that the sample the technology they were working on was this holographic technology, and I could talk to you about that too a little bit further. But he also alluded that this dragonfly drone. Next time I talked to him he was saying, there's a self-actuating software, and so I know it exists. I know that they're working on it, and I find later on I read about it on Google, and it's I guess it's been out in the public for a while. I just didn't hear about it.
All right, the dragonfly drone is sort of self-explanatory. It's a small drone that looks like a dragonfly. What does this?
Have you seen it?
I have seen. I think video footage of a drone that was shaped like a dragonfly. There's something about the dragonfly's wings that are very unique, and aerodynamics and propulsion and so forth. At any rate, that was the design of it. CARET, I don't know anything about. Nothing. And you defined that. It's an acronym, and you defined it a moment ago. Would you define it again, please? C-A-R-E-T.
Yeah, so if you Google C-A-R-E-T and UFO drone, a bunch of things pop up. So this is basically after the fact. The scientist told me to check it out, and the program that I assume these guys are working on is the next version or the newest program of this drone technology, which is anti-gravitic. It's invisibility. It doesn't really look like a dragonfly, the one I'm looking at here. There was a bunch of photos from Big Basin, California, Lake Tahoe, Capitola, California. So all on the West Coast is the ones that I have here.
Right.
And there was people who were taking pictures of it, and they said it was kind of phasing in and out of sight, so like flickering like a light switch. And apparently, this potentially that could be near power lines or just in some weird field where the invisibility cloak is not working properly or something like that. I'd assume, I don't know. But all I know is that there's these little markings on it that look like almost like hieroglyphics. And it's my understanding that these hieroglyphics at the atomic level can basically run like a computer. If you press it or consciously interact with it, it can carry out all sorts of different things. So I'm going to look more into this carrot thing. It's just something that was on the back of my mind, and it was kind of a weird discussion I had with him. But he basically opened my eyes to the fact that this program or an offshoot of it is still going on. And
it sounds like
who knows where they are now.
Yeah, it sounds like this is limitless. It can go and go and go. You type in carrot, C-A-R-E-T. Just write this down, all of you, for later. UFO drone, C-A-R-E-T, UFO drone. There's a lot of material about that there. I think what we're talking about here is so phenomenal, so extraordinary, that the human body is an obvious and easy carrier for any number, an unlimited number of nanomachines that will interact with the human body, direct the human body, control the human body. We're worried about AI taking jobs at McDonald's and so forth, when in reality, the nano world, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Nano, is now to the point where we could be inhaling, drinking, eating, swallowing any number of nanomachines that will take up residence in our body. They're self-replicating, they're self-repairing, they are transmitting and receiving, they are controlling. We are we not, in fact, at least theoretically, in a pragmatic sense, under total control right now? We could be and never know it, and they'll never tell us. They keep us worried about things that are rather simplistic in comparison to what nanotechnology has already produced and is producing. Fair enough?
Fair enough. Absolutely. I mean, to this point, I'm absolutely confused on everything I ever thought was happening to be what is reality anymore. I mean, I'm just trying to get it over this whole so I know some professors, quite a few, that the MIT Harvard guys, and then you have Larry Page and Jeff Bezos and all these Nobel laureates and just amazing people having meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. And that whole, I don't know how far those interactions went, but when you have these very powerful people in academia and in corporate world coming together with this man who's apparently trying to seed a super race and eugenics on this island. I think the whole Lolita, maybe the pedophilia stuff is maybe a distraction with all of this. I don't know. I just
could
don't
be.
get it.
He gave Harvard $8 million. All right. God knows who else he gave money to. Where did this money come from? And what was he buying with it? What was he subsidizing with it?
Yeah, that's what I don't know. And I'd like to find out more information. I mean,
too many meetings with too many people, Mr. Nano. Too many meetings with too many important people in science and business, technology. This story is so huge and probably bears little resemblance to what we're being fed continually. We're being fed the minutia of misdirection about this whole story. The big story is $8 million to Harvard, meeting with Jeff Bezos. What's that? Meeting with Bill Gates. What's that? What's that?
Right.
No one's asking. No one's going to tell. You may hear something on the grapevine, but that'll probably be it.
That's it. You're right. And I think I've seen in the past when there's someone famous or something happens, what's the quickest way for somebody to just to ruin their name and call them a pedophile, and that just automatically turns the public off. And
yeah,
that's the quickest way to really destroy somebody. And so why not call him a pedophile? Maybe he is too. I don't know. But all I know is that he's meeting with these amazing people, and it's about a super race and his genetics and other people's genetics. I mean, if what I'm reading and hearing from the ufology, the whole UFO community is all about genetics, and the ETs are here and they've been tweaking our DNA for millennia, then who's to say, they're not all in this together? And there's a whole nother plan out there. I'm just speculating, of course, but what else can I do?
I think it would be silly not to speculate in the fashion you're doing. It's the only way to look at it. This is limitless, all of it.
Yeah. Because I know nanotechnology. I know you're right. There's things they could do at the nano level that you would never even know is happening. I'm just barely starting to read more about the 5G thing. That's a whole other story. I don't know much about that, but I do know that they can make very small nanobots that cruise around your body, and you'd never know. And they could be doing all sorts of different things.
Never know.
You'd never know. Yeah, you could just, McDonald's could be feeding out of their soda drinks, and you wouldn't even know. But there's a zillion ways to get them in you.
Yeah. I personally think that that's already going on. It has been.
It has been, yeah.
The whole 5G thing is bad, but that's a lot of misdirection. We're not looking in the right places. They don't want us to, and they control all the modus operandi that we would otherwise use. They control it, and so we're not going to know. Let me ask you about nano machines. I remember the first program I did 20 years ago on this, and the guy was telling me that, without question, one of the simplest nano devices to construct would have as its primary goal, or could have as its primary goal, the destruction of any living cells it came into contact with. That was a long time ago. So that's 20 years ago.
That's easy stuff.
That's easy stuff. Now, I want all of you to pay attention. Mr. Nano said that's easy stuff. And this goes back to what I was hearing on this program 20 years ago. So the end of all life on the planet is in the hands of God only knows how many different power brokers, people. They've got it. They could end it all tomorrow or the next day or the next day. But they're not doing it because this game is being played out on an entirely different level. But that technology exists, and I want you to keep that in mind too. It's real.
Yeah, it's all real. And you're right. For whatever reason, we're still here, and we're still going to work. We're still consuming everything around us.
Yeah.
And that's key. That's what they
going
want.
into debt,
it's not about money.
Eating their junk
power.
Food. Yeah.
Absolutely. And dividing the country. I mean, clearly, President Trump and his administration, I don't know if it's for the good or for the bad or what's true anymore. I mean, you have the most powerful man in the world claiming everything is fake news. He's also one of Jeffrey's buddies, Epstein's buddies.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
somebody who would definitely take advantage of anything he can. That's clearly, I mean, that's his persona. That's his MO.
Yep.
He'd definitely do that. So why is he literally killing every environmental program out there, denying everything, science denial? He's a chosen one. And when I heard him say that, he looked and pointed up in the sky, and I was thinking maybe he's part of some ET group, and the chosen one him is not God. I think
he said that.
It's more of,
yeah.
Yeah.
For our listeners, he did say that. That story, by the way, Mr. Nano, it came and went so fast. Most people it's gone now. But he did say that.
He did say he's the chosen one. You can Google it and watch him in front of his chopper talk, or whenever he's outside by the lawn in front of the helicopter. I think he said it.
Yeah.
But he also said a while ago, I could look it up and send you it, but like a month or two ago, he said something along the same lines, where he looked up and he said, "They told me to." And he looked behind him and like pointed towards the sky a little bit and said, "I have to do this because they told me so." And who's they? He never said who they is. And then he says he's the chosen one. So these two times now, and he's not a religious person. My gut feeling is they, meaning the deep state or this ET action or whoever it is, it's not a god. That's for darn sure. So that's my take on that.
Good take.
So what is he doing? What is he doing? And what's him and Putin and North Korea Kim, and why are they all involved? Why are they all friends? And the British and everybody else, all the old crew that the U.S. used to hang out with for all these decades and presidents our allies, are now not. And maybe he is disrupting something, and maybe it is the best thing in getting all this out. Because at the end of the day, all of this information has been secret for a long time, but it's also been in the public a little bit, at least in the scientific community. I mean, people know there's whistleblowers, there's evidence out there. And this was back in the Clinton and the Bush and the Reagan days, basically. So at some point, you got to look at all these past presidents and administrations have known about this to a certain extent, I'm sure. And they've kept it secret. So maybe this Trump and his maybe he's on the other side of the fence with whoever his allies are bringing this out, or maybe that's what I'm hoping anyway. But I don't know.
Well, I'd like to sustain and condone and encourage optimism, but it's very difficult for me. I don't see. There's some undercurrent of control, of power, of knowledge, of wisdom. I don't know where it comes from. It is not being administered with our best interests, none of our interests in mind at all. This is all about something else entirely. Now, I just got an email from Scott Perez, who's been a guest a number of times on the program, and he's writing, he says, Epstein was blackmailing the people with the technology in order to control them. But he sees Epstein as not necessarily using pedophilia and perversion, but also technology to control the heavy hitters. I don't know how true that is, but if you understand that Epstein was obviously tied to the Mossad, to Israel, the technology there, you get the point. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That would make way more sense. And that's my direction of thought too. At the end of the day, what I understand is everything's about information and technology, period. There is no dollars out there in space or currency. Currency is information and technology. And
absolutely.
With information and technology, that's the most powerful weapons you have. And you can control anything.
If you notice, somebody told me years ago that information, knowledge, wisdom, but information is released to the public to generate currents, responses, growth, and then it's withdrawn. It's released, it's withdrawn. It's carefully, it's like an opiate to the masses.
Right.
It's let out, it's pulled back. That's it. It's all about the information And that's tied to the technology. Now, Scott says one other thing here. He says, DNA is computer code, 100%. And
Right.
anyone who looks at a simple double helix and realizes what the DNA is and how it's involved with that has to come away with the concept, at least to consider, that we're created. We're machines.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's clear. You want to see a nice piece of technology. The most advanced technology that you have or any human being has right now is just look in the mirror. Your body is a nano bio machine.
It's a phenomenal construct.
For your consciousness to evolve and live out whatever contract, I guess you could say, you signed up for in this reality, this 3D Earth, we call Earth or universe. And if information is everything at a Planck, or if there's infinite amount of universes and all this fractal holographic theories of physics, and that it just gets really interesting, where there's so many possibilities, anything could happen. And if literally space-time is information and it is a computer program, I heard that too, that space-time, there's some algorithm or some equation where space-time is basically the same information as, with the same code as what runs our internet. I heard this a little while ago.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. A couple of things that... Go ahead.
No, it's just... Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, it's this nanobio body technology, and if it was given to us and from who, for what reasons, or why are we here? I think, of course, we want to ask, why are we here? Who are we? What's our stance in this universe? And all those are great questions, and we should continue to ask them. And they just might change a little bit, where maybe we put ourselves here, and there's this higher self, and trying to. Apparently, there's a lot of good stuff in the Bible and the Quran, and all these thousands of different cultures have all been passed on information, right? I'd like to take that information as much as possible and try and relate it to today's world, where we live, our reality, with where science is going. And you start to see things overlap, and maybe there is a creator out there, and maybe there is...
Well, some form of what we'd call intelligence is involved.
Yeah, right.
Somewhere.
I was very atheist for a while. Now I'm kind of agnostic, I think.
I think that's probably where most intelligent people are going to end up sooner or later, agnostic. When you think you've found the answer, you're out of the game. That's the way I've always looked at it.
That makes sense.
I got another note from Scott. He said, this goes back to what you were saying earlier, some of these new, remarkable materials. He writes, polymer materials can change form when hit by different wavelengths of light. This is called nonlinear optics. IBM and Sony pioneered a lot of this polymer chemistry. The metamaterials change form when hit by different wavelengths. It's a way of storing information in polymers. This is a technology used in DVDs and CDs, of course. But what I think the bigger picture here is that virtually nobody knows about any of this. Not that they need to. I'm not suggesting they need to. I'm not on a bandwagon saying, oh my God, we've got to bring everybody along and tell them what's happening, what's really happening. That's not for the masses. That's not the way this is all set up. It's for the few. And you made the point last time around that you believe, and you have confirmation, if I'm remembering correctly, that E.T. is here, of course, and is working at many different installations, on many different programs, with humans, scientists, engineers, technicians, and so forth. But that's a reality. And it's not something that's really open to, well, what if? It is.
Right. Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to that? Because that's important for people to know. And this audience will, above all audiences, I think, be able to grasp that as a potential reality in their world. There are ETs here. They're here.
Right. So when I first got hit with that news was at the Material Research Society conference 7-8 years ago. And I literally had about a 2-day kind of briefing on the status of ETs and what's going on. And
what can you tell us about that? Tell us about that briefing as much as you can.
Well, I kind of walked into VPs of billion-dollar corporations. They're kind of having coffee around a table during the conference, and they were talking about shifting a resource, trying to find the right person to shift around these resources, to find the right person to install a piece, like the $1 million piece of equipment in Minneapolis with the tall whites. And I heard tall whites. I thought they were being racist or something. I didn't really put it together. And I ended up talking with the guys for a few hours, and they told me about the tall whites a little bit, and that they're in Minneapolis doing cancer research. There's one area in some facility. They didn't tell me any details on any of that stuff. It's very compartmentalized. Mm-hmm. But they're doing cancer research, and they had to find the right engineer in their group. And it sounded like there's some subgroup that they were talking about other than just the standard engineering group that handles these sort of requests. And I just kind of listened and played along like I knew what was going on so I could keep hearing things. And then I heard someone talking about his father's colonel in the Army. He was a colonel, a high-ranking person in the Army, and basically he told me that his dad told him that he was an engineer, the son, and he told me that his dad told him that the ETs won't let us past our space station. I said, well, why is that? He said, well, because they're afraid we're going to strap a nuke on one of these anti-gravity ships we fly around all the time and blow up a different planet, and that we're quarantined to Earth. And this was about 7-8 years ago. Mm-hmm. So that really got me there. And I was trying to ask more questions, and he didn't know a whole lot either. It's just everyone you run into, that's kind of the kicker too. Everyone I talk to, they just have a little tidbit here or tidbit there. Mm-hmm. I have yet to come across somebody who just can lay it all out, other than their little, well, I heard this, I heard that, or. But I do know that these VPs were certainly organizing their best men to accommodate these tall whites in Minneapolis to do some cancer research.
Interesting how
they're working together, and
yeah,
they're cooperating and they're helping, and that's all I know. For what?
That's just biology. That's just one tiny area of science. One wonders what other areas, if not all major disciplines, tall whites may be involved with. Tall whites, the Nordics, Aryan race, whatever you want to call them. That's their word for it. That would suggest also 7 or 8 years ago you heard we were quarantined. If we're now not quarantined, I would suggest that maybe we leave planet with mixed crews. That's how they would make sure that we behave ourselves. There would be tall whites on the ships or whatever. And
yeah, humans. You know, when I said that rings a bell too, because somebody told me go listen to Robert Bigelow's 60-minute talk. I said, well, who's that? I didn't even know Bigelow's name, and I researched him. Like, wow, this guy is pretty big, and I checked out that 60-minute talk. And if you check it out, he basically tells, I forget the host, but he says, or she asked him, you know, Are you afraid or are you embarrassed to talk? What do you think about it's going to do to your reputation if you talk about aliens and you believe in UFOs? He's like, I don't give a damn. It's not going to change the situation. That's what it is. And he says, she's like, well, where are they? I don't see them. He's like, oh, he's like giggles. And he's like, they're right under your nose. And this person who's a VP of $1 billion corporation said, there's your answer. And that's all he really told me. He just said, there's your answer. Go check out Robert Bigelow. So then I started researching him, and I actually came across Dr. Hal Puthoff, too, at some point. Yeah. And spoke with him a bit. And I'm still waiting to get a tour of his lab, but he gave me a 3-page investment document, which is quite interesting. I don't know if you've ever
Tell
seen
us
this.
about that. We've got about. Go ahead. We got 3 or 4 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sure he's probably sent it around to a lot of people. I imagine it's in the public somewhere, but it's basically the 3 different areas of technology they're looking at with nanotechnology, basically at the forefront of it. Long-range barrier penetrating quantum communications. So this is a program to advance our patented technology that is capable of overcoming traditional sources of signal degradation, such as shielding by employing electromagnetic potentials in place of electromagnetic fields. Then number 2 is aerospace science and analysis. So this is a program to continue collaboration with government program elements, including analysis of data materials to further our investigation of potentially disruptive technologies related to spaceflight. And then 3 is forensic medical genomics, a program to advance pilot program discoveries based on utilization of state-of-the-art MRI scanning techniques and genetic analysis to identify high executive function personnel, address cognitive impairments, and discover new methods for managing such impairments as dementia. But that's more general, but the long-term portfolio access within 1 to 10 years. Number 1 is beamed energy launch system. So BELS is revolutionized cost-reduced CubeSat launch systems. So it's like the Rolls-Royce to the Walmart economics. 2, advanced materials exploitation. Vast applications, commercialization opportunities. That's a big one. Number 3 is space-time gravity and cosmology. Theoretical developments underpinning scientific advances, space-time metric engineering. Number 4, theory-grounded experimental studies of the quantum vacuum applicable to advanced technologies, i.e. warp drives and wormholes. And 5, the Maverick Inventor Program to assess claims by lone inventors of unanticipated claim technology breakthroughs. So we could, for a cool $15 million or so over 3 years, you can invest in one of these programs. If you got the money ready, you sign an NDA, and you can get a tour of the lab and see this technology. So wormholes, warp drives.
Question. Why are they soliciting, Todd, hold the music, please, just for a minute. Why are they soliciting funds from people when they can get black op money, unlimited black op money, to do almost any of this?
Good question, yeah. It says,
Todd, can you turn the music down, please, if you can hear me? I'm not sure you can. Go ahead, Mr. Nano.
In that second, the aerospace science and analysis, he states it's a program to continue collaboration with government program elements. So I'm sure, obviously, they're working with the government. I mean, what is the government? Our government? No, probably not. I mean, the public's government anyway.
Right.
So it'd be more or less the deep state government, or where this trillions of dollars is going. That's a whole other thing, is how the hell the Pentagon, the day before 9/11, he comes out, or Donald Rumsfeld comes out and says, yeah, we're missing 2.some trillion with a T.
2.3 trillion. Yeah.
Yeah, back in 2001. And to date, it's still, now it's, who knows, 20 trillion.
Well, that's really pocket change. The real debt of this country, according to the story that came out yesterday, Not 25 trillion, 400 trillion. 400 trillion. This is a remarkable story. I don't know if you saw it or not. I can send that to you as well.
Yeah,
So I'll send that along. Yeah.
I know 5 trillion or 3 trillion would buy you some pretty nice underground bases or bases on other planets or fund a lot of these black budget projects. There's your money. That's where the money. So now you have, here's the money. Here's thousands and thousands of whistleblowers or documents or evidence in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Where else do you go? I mean, it's all there. It's just someone needs to put it together, I guess, on a nice, wrap it up in a present and put it on CNN and Fox, and I don't know.
Yeah, sit back. Thank you for being here again. We've got to wrap this one, and I look forward to our next conversation. It's been great.
Sounds great. No, anytime, and we can continue it in any direction you want, and I'll keep trying to get some other stuff for you.
Yeah, look forward to it. All right, we'll talk soon. You take care.
All right, you too. Thanks, Jeff. Bye.
You bet. All right, Mr. Nano, and we will be back Monday night, the weekend here at hand again. So enjoy, take care, eat good food, and think good thoughts. Talk soon.